Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
We've been preparing for a few days now, got everything ready, including the salt. We got all the equipment ready. We've been on standby last night, and also we have a crew that's checking it out.
I think it's a chance for a fresh start. I think that, we do need to rebuild and reflect on what went wrong in the last election, but I think people are optimistic that we can do that.
This church isn't just the people from the Underground Railroad. This church, there were free black people that lived in Canada because of our Emancipation Act in 1833.
Thanks for joining us. Our top story tonight is happening right outside your window. Forecasters had given us ample warning of this storm, and the snow is indeed coming down. The good news, though, we're getting off slightly easier than expected thanks to warmer and drier air. But conditions are still messy, affecting schools, roads, and some city services. The CBC's Jason Vio is out braving the elements for us and joins us live now with more. Jason, what are the conditions like right now?
Well, as you can see, snow continues to fall as it has been all day. They expect 15 to 20 centimeters, Environment Canada, by tomorrow morning, but that is scaled down a little bit. We aren't expecting as much to accumulate as they were once first forecasting because of the milder temperatures this afternoon. So we're not going to see as much pile up, but it certainly still is going to snow just as much. At times, though, the snow could be so intense, they say it might be 2 centimeters per hour falling, and to tackle all of this, the city has 21 trucks on the road salting and plowing, and those people are working 12-hour shifts in an attempt to keep our roads safe. But there's also a concern that COVID may have an impact on the number of plows on the road. The city says the primary shift is fine, but if this snowstorm is prolonged along with the cleanup, that's where there might be an issue.
No, we do have the amount of plow is still the same, but sometimes with the replacement of staff for multiple shifts is certainly a challenge for us. Once it's done, and depending how much it is, if it is over our threshold, which is 10 centimeter, we'll probably go into residential after that. So we have made arrangement with our heavy equipment contractors already, just to give them some preparation in case we have to go in. Okay. Now the timing is a little difficult because we don't know when the storm is going to end.
And just to give you a sense of how much kind of removing snow and salting the roads costs our city, he says it's about $12,000 an hour, and the average snowstorm can run the city anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000.
Jason, let's turn to Tecumseh now. The town has declared this a significant weather event. So what are the implications with that there?
Well, that means that tomorrow they've canceled Tecumseh Transit, so that won't be operating tomorrow, with the expectation that it will resume on Friday. We also did check with the city. Transit Windsor will be running, so there's no interruptions in the city today, tomorrow, or as far as they can see. But also back in Tecumseh, what that declaration also means is that residents there are being asked to remove their cars off the road if they normally park on the road. That's so the plows can get through. Because of this declaration, they say it's illegal to impede a snowplow, so there is the possibility that anyone parked on the road could get a warning, could get a fine, or their car could even be towed.
And Jason, bad weather obviously has a profound impact on those who don't have a warm place to go to. So what can you tell us about how the most vulnerable in our community, like how they're faring through this storm?
Right, in the last couple of weeks, it's really been difficult for that segment of the population. We know some of the shelters have been under COVID outbreaks, both staff and some of their guests as well, those who are homeless. We did hear from the mission that many of their employees have returned to work, so some of the programs are starting back up, but they say that doesn't solve one of its core issues, where overnight capacity, they still don't have enough overnight beds for everyone who needs one. So even on nights like tonight, they might be turning people away. They say they do let people into the front foyer to warm up, but they can't stay there all night. So that is a concern, of course. And we went to the Waterworld building today, where there are some resources for people who are homeless. And there was a pastor from a local church who was handing out food and giving them food, which was kind of an extra piece of warmth on a day like today.
With all the cold and everything that we're going through, with you still coming to provide your services to all these who need it, it is an open door for us to actually be able to feel trust and compassion and a little bit of love, because it's so hard to find that when we're in the situation that we're in, not to mention about the cold.
Well, my plans are hoping to have somewhere to stay tonight. I have talked to a few friends and see if I can do a little bit of couch surfing, I think. And, maybe bundle up and go for dinner at the unit.
Now, the Downtown Mission is also trying to work with the health unit in an attempt to open an overnight warming center. They've submitted that application. They're waiting to hear back from the health unit, and that would be at its location on Olette Avenue, so 875 Olette, and that would happen in the lobby there. So it would provide some comfort and people getting out of the cold on nights like tonight, but that isn't open yet. The city already saying, according to the mission, that they will provide 2 security guards for that operation, so they're waiting on the health unit, and they're hoping that will happen sooner than later, so it could get more people off the streets on a cold and snowy night like tonight.
Thanks for braving these conditions for us, Jason. CBC's Jason Vio live tonight. To Ottawa now. Erin O'Toole has been voted out as leader of the Conservative Party in a secret vote by a majority of his Conservative Party MPs. And it comes after a group of MPs signed a notice that triggered the leadership review. As Hannah Thibodeau reports, the question now is how the party moves forward.
This afternoon, I stepped down as leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition and leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, following a Reform Act vote in our caucus.
Months after losing the election, Conservative MPs chose to oust their leader. 62% of the caucus said Erin O'Toole should be replaced.
I pledge my support and unwavering loyalty to our next leader, and I urge everyone in our party to come together and do the same.
A number of caucus members who felt that in order to pull this disparate bunch together, we needed to start fresh, and that Erin wasn't going to be able to do it.
This is not a good day for our movement. This is not a good day for Erin.
O'Toole is a 4-term Ontario MP who led the party into the 2021 election. He faced mounting criticism about shifting positions on the carbon tax, balanced budgets, and assault-style firearms in the campaign. Some Conservatives were also frustrated that O'Toole ran in the leadership race as a true blue Tory, but then moved to the centre when he won the job. Today in Parliament, appreciation from both sides of the aisle.
There is a lot we don't agree on for the direction of this country, but he stepped up to serve his country, and I want to thank him for his sacrifice.
I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the work and the sacrifice of the member from Durham.
The priority now for Conservatives, uniting to move on.
I'm looking forward to this fresh start that we now have. We're entering a new era for the Conservative Party.
I think it's time for our party to get reunited and get back on the same page here, and I think you're going to see that.
But some see that as easier said than done.
It's going to be a bloody tough job. Bloody tough job.
Our party could sort of splinter into 1,000 pieces if you're not careful. And I think the caucus is mindful of that. And they're obviously doing a good job of trying to put that stiff upper lip and that gritted teeth determination on to get today.
So with O'Toole's resignation official, the Conservative Party will now launch a leadership race soon. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Ottawa.
And staying in Ottawa, the MP for Sarnia-Lambton says she's thinking about throwing her hat in the ring for the Conservative leadership, and says this change today gives the Conservatives a chance to start over and review their policies. Here's more of what she had to say earlier this afternoon.
I think it's a chance for a fresh start. I think that, we do need to rebuild and reflect on what went wrong in the last election, but I think people are optimistic that we can do that.
But did you support removing Mr. O'Toole?
You know what, the ballot is a secret ballot for that reason, to keep it confidential. I think we need to respect that.
Marilyn, what do you think the source of a lot of these divisions were, and the fact that Erin O'Toole could not unify the party?
Well, you know, we're a big tent party, and in any big tent party, you've got a hugely diverse group of opinions. I came from a business where I managed plants in 40 countries, so huge diverse teams, and I think the leadership skill to do that, it's a delicate balance. But to be fair, I mean, these were difficult times during the pandemic. Aaron is a person of integrity, he's well respected, and I just think that, you know, a lot of things came against him.
Who do you support for interim leader?
Oh, you know what? We're going to have a meeting tonight, and I'll see who presents.
Are you going to be running for leader of the party?
I'm thinking about it.
You're thinking about
it?
Yeah.
And we also have a statement from the MP for Chatham-Kent-Leamington. Dave Epp thanked O'Toole for his service and then asked his constituents for feedback. He went on to say, in part, once you as constituents have had your say, I will have a clearer sense of what leadership candidate can best achieve your hopes and aspirations. I have no preference for who that should be, nor do I have any intention of trying to bargain my support for some future position. Meanwhile, the MP for Essex, Chris Lewis, has not released any statement on the leadership at this time. The Windsor Regional Hospital is being applauded by blood organizations for cutting its use of blood transfusions to almost half. Transfusions are regularly needed to help patients who have a serious injury, surgery, or cancer. There are certain risks, like a severe allergic reaction that may come with each blood transfusion. So fewer transfusions means less risk for the patient. Both the Canadian Blood Services and Choosing Wisely Canada, they've given the hospital a special designation for its efforts. Windsor Regional now has some of the best transfusion rates in the province. The initiative, which began February 2018, is something that's helped hospital staff members push through the challenges of a pandemic.
The pandemic is a perfect example. Donations were down and we weren't getting a lot of donations. So if we were just, you know, transfusing these things without these guidelines, we're depleting our resources on the other end. So that someone who, let's say, was in a trauma or a car accident and needed it, we're protecting that blood supply for when it's supposed to be used.
Now, before this, it was standard practice at the hospital to give 2 units of blood, but according to Ziotis, recent research shows that less may be more. Not only is the risk reduced to patients, but also helps blood shortages. Shortages can force doctors to postpone surgeries because it can take a while for the hospital to receive a refill, as the nearest blood bank is in Brampton. And turning now to the latest on COVID-19 in Windsor, Essex. Another 3 people have died in our region from the virus, a woman in her 50s and a man and woman in their 70s. However, hospitalizations continue to show a positive downward trend. 67 people are currently in hospital due to the virus, a reduction of 2 patients. 12 of those patients are in the intensive care unit. In the U.S., Pfizer-BioNTech is seeking approval for its vaccine for infants and children under 5 years old, and a decision could come within the month, much earlier than expected. As Christine Birak reports, Health Canada expects Pfizer to submit data to begin the approval process here very soon.
Hey, how about that?
That's it. The kids' trial had setbacks, but this is the news some parents have been waiting for. American reports say Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine for children under 5 could be available by the end of the month.
Ultimately, the decision resides with FDA, but there is some indication that there may be an earlier action on that application.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration reportedly urged Pfizer to submit its emergency use application. Regulators can now start reviewing the data for its 2-dose kids vaccine. In December, Pfizer said 2 low-dose shots prompted a strong immune response in children 6 months to 2 years old, but fell short in children aged 2 to 4. The trial now includes a 3rd low dose as well.
I think there's a lot of pressure on Pfizer to submit to the FDA. Because there's a lot of concern about the number of children that are being hospitalized in the U.S. with COVID.
As for Canada,
it's not to say we don't have some children in this age group that are hospitalized, but it is not such a huge problem as it is in the U.S.
So far, only 53% of kids aged 5 to 11 have been vaccinated, even though there have been no significant safety concerns. Doctors say the belief among many parents is the virus doesn't really make kids sick.
The arguments that COVID-19 isn't severe in small children aren't really
true.
But doctors insist the virus can lead to other serious conditions in kids, including multisystem inflammatory syndrome.
Relative to other diseases that we routinely vaccinate against in childhood, COVID-19 is much more impactful.
Both Andel and his 8-month-old brother Soren took part in Pfizer's trial.
A little bit of a sore arm for a day.
Health Canada says it expects Pfizer to submit its data shortly. If all goes well, doctors say there could be a children's vaccine in the spring. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
As we celebrate Black History Month, we're taking a look at the history right here in Windsor, Essex. In Sandwich Town on Peter Street is one of the oldest active Black churches. Construction was completed in 1851, but the church service had been going for 30 years even before that. It was settled and constructed by both free and runaway enslaved people from the U.S.
It was extremely important. It was important because we had abolitionists like Henry Bibb, who really died at a very young age in his 40s. But what he did, he found a refuge here for all the people that came across. You have to realize there were free Blacks that were in Canada. This church isn't just the people from the Underground Railroad. This church, there were free Black people that lived in Canada because of our Emancipation Act in 1833. We just didn't drop out of the sky. That we've been here for generations doing good things. I always say, whose shoulders have I stood on? Who made a way for me? And who am I going to make a way for? But I hope that in time, I'll make 20 years, I may be around, who knows, but I may be gone. And the fact of that, I want to leave a legacy that people will realize Black people have been here for generations. It's been hard. We have service by Zoom, or the pastor would do it on not Facebook, but YouTube, so he could spread the word. Pastor Green, we have made, where other people probably have fallen behind, we were risen up. We had more people. Once it opened up, we had more people come.
The church received a federal grant to help with renovations in the atrium of the church. Talbot is also raising money to build a Black History Museum on the property. And the University of Windsor has found a unique way to honor Black culture. The Leddy Library on campus is releasing a recommended reading list, 28 books for each day of Black History Month. The list was compiled by suggestions from the public.
Really a great way to engage the community at large and have all sorts of people. We've got a grade 3 student and a high school student. We've got performers and artists and researchers and scholars and some lawyers and librarians, all sorts of people recommending their books. So it was really neat to sort of get a list of diverse people giving their suggestions. It's an exciting list.
The library will release the name of one book each day on its social feeds. So expect an eclectic mix including children's books, historical literature, and novels. The Canadian Olympic Committee has announced the flag bearers for the 2022 Beijing Winter Games. Women's hockey captain Marie-Philippe Poulin and men's speed skater Charles Hamelin will hoist the maple leaf at the opening ceremony on Friday.
The opening is very special. It's an honor. It's hard to put into words, but to be honest, our smile, I think, says it all.
Katrina said that we were the flag bearer for Canada. Well, I got a little bit in shock. Got my tears come down a little bit on my cheek.
Hamelin, one of the world's most decorated short track speed skaters, hails from Saint-Julie, Quebec, and has won 5 Olympic medals. He's tied for Canada's most decorated male Winter Olympian, and hockey captain Marie-Philippe Poulin from Beauceville, Quebec, scored game-winning goals at both the 2010 and 2014 Olympics. Poulin will be competing at her 4th Games. Let's take a live look outside there. The storm continues. You can see a little bit of that through our tower cam there. We do have a snowfall warning in effect, and that is indeed a downgrade from the winter storm warning that we had earlier. So not quite as bad as we thought it would be yesterday. Nick Sirkovich will be here after the break with an update on current conditions and what to expect for the next 24 hours and beyond. Stay with us. Nick Sirkovich joins us now for a look at our weather. Nick, it's definitely not pleasant out there, but not quite as bad as we thought it would be.
No, actually, a couple things going on with this storm system. So the first is that the temperature stayed sort of milder for a little bit longer, and then when you look at the actual moisture content in the storm, it looks like it has a little bit less in the way of moisture. So all told, we're looking at lower amounts of snowfall than originally expected. There still is a snowfall warning in effect, though, for the Windsor area and surrounding regions as well. Now, that is a downgrade from the winter storm warning, but we're still expecting to see about 15+ centimeters of snowfall, at least in some areas. You can see here the line. It's kind of tapered tapering off a little bit. We're seeing the snowfall ease off. We'll get a break, and then we'll get more through the overnight period. But the temperatures, this is basically kind of your zero line, have remained fairly mild through the day today, just below the zero mark. So a bit of a break tonight, and then we're going to see some more as we head into tomorrow morning and through the afternoon before it begins to taper off through Thursday night. Friday starts out dry, and then looks like there's another punch of sort of light flurries into Friday night. We'll have to watch that as we get closer. Forecast models by tomorrow morning, about 10 centimeters of snow, and then about another 5. But the problem with accumulations like this is that when they happen over such a long period of time, you don't often realize the full potential of that snowfall just because it's falling so slowly. So, I mean, you know, if you're looking forward to the snow, perhaps it's a bit disappointing, but for a lot of people that were going to have to shovel it, it's actually pretty good. It will be windy, though. We're looking at wind gusts up to about 50 kilometers per hour out of the north, and that will lead to local blowing snow as well. So definitely looking at poor driving conditions through tonight and tomorrow as well. -2 degrees right now down in Windsor. It's slowly starting to drop, -3 through the overnight. There's a look at the overnight temperatures tomorrow. -5 through the afternoon, but the temperatures are falling through the day, and we've got wind chills in the minus teens there because of the windy conditions. -8 on Friday. Again, Friday night could see some more flurries there, and then a cold start to the weekend. Well, -3 is as good as it gets for Sunday.
As good as it gets.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that, Nick. We'll check back in with you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
When we come back, we'll take another look at some of the conditions today. Stay with us. Welcome back. An update now on the demonstration in Ottawa. The cost of policing the ongoing protest there is now $3 million and counting. Ottawa police say they will soon look to the municipal and federal governments for support in managing these costs. Now, by comparison, the 7-year average of maintaining order for Canada Day celebrations, for example, that was approximately $620,000. And the cost of policing the major celebrations of Canada's 150th anniversary, that was $1.4 million. That is it for CBC Windsor News. Now, before we go, we do want to leave you with some more scenes from the first big snowfall of the year. And just a reminder as well that some municipal services are closed tomorrow. So we're going to have all that information. You can find it on our website. Just go to cbc.ca/Windsor. And our coverage of the storm that will also continue tomorrow. And it'll start with Windsor Morning. You can tune in at 97.5 FM. Stay safe and have a good night.